executive of Toko, Sangre Grande, Kamuto, Manzanilla, visitors to the area, particularly those of you from the far north coast, led by the Venerable Chairman Terry Rondon, visitors, all members of the media, those of you following us at home, a very good night to you from the People's National Movement platform here in Sangre Grande. I also want to acknowledge all those party members who are here with me tonight and who have offered themselves to serve you as members of the national executive of this People's National Movement. They have been introduced to you, most of them tonight, and I, having been elected unopposed, I want to identify myself to you tonight here in Sangre Grande. We have started a campaign for the national executive a few weeks ago. That's those of us in this team that I endorse, which is being called the team that is real, the team that is experienced, and the team that is dependable. But before this team came into being, a number of other persons had indicated either directly or indirectly a willingness to serve. And as political leader of the party, what I did, I waited to see who was offering themselves. Because, you know, there was an election 2 years ago. And at that time, the posts of political leader, chairman, general secretary were not up because we were on the 4-year regime. Those who were on the 2-year regime were up. And I took the position then that I would not, as leader, endorse any group of candidates, and I think I probably only endorsed one candidate. And the reason for that is that we had a treasurer in office at the time who had indicated a willingness to run again. And as leader of the party, I was very dissatisfied with the performance of that treasurer. And as you know me, Trinidad and Tobago, you know me, I don't put water in my mouth to talk, not publicly, and more so, not privately. On that occasion, I called the treasurer and I said to him, I am dissatisfied with your performance, and I will not be supporting you for the position of treasurer. Because I felt that the party needed a treasurer who could do the treasurer's job. And if you're not willing to do the job or you're not able to do the job, it is then my job to remove you. So I said to him, I will not be supporting you for the position of treasurer. And he said, well, I'm still going to run for the position. And I said, that is mine. I fought for that right. I fought for the right of any party member to contest for any position in this party. So when he said to me, I am going to run for it, supporting that. But you don't have any right to win. You have a right to run, but you have no right to win. It's up to me and responsible party members to determine if, like in that situation, if because you have a right to run, we'll allow you to come and do another term of non-performance as treasurer. And party members, you responded handsomely. He lost his deposit. And that's how the party functions. And here we are again in this critical time of 2018. What I said when I waited for a while and the elections were called, I said I would look to see who is offering themselves, and I will endorse those persons who I believe are the best persons to serve in those positions at this time. Because you see, as political leader, I have a job that none of you have. You heard a while ago that the role of the chairman is to run the executive of the organization. If you look at our party structure, at the top of it, you see the chairman. When Balize House has a meeting of the general council, I am there as a member of the executive, but the council is run by the chairman. And if the chairman is absent, it is the vice chairman who takes over. And if both of them are absent, well, the boss takes over. the lady vice chairman takes over. That's the hierarchy in our party constitution. Not the political leader. The political leader has a job to make sure that the political affairs of the party are the best. And that has to do with knowing what is going on, positioning the party, leading us into battle, and winning elections so that the party's policies and programs can become the country's policies and programs. That's what it's about. So, on this occasion, I announced to the party members that I will be supporting a slate. And the RED, the real means, we want people who are committed to the organization through thick and thin. You don't want people like Honourable who one day you're in the PNM, next day you're in the UNC, next day you're in the PNM, you don't know where they belong. You want people who are real. You stand with the party through thick and thin. You could imagine you're going to play for West Indies, you bat, you see you score 150 for 5, you come into bat and you lost the wicket stupidly. No, that's when you got to put on your head and bat to put on a score. Because when you put runs on the board, then you could try and win the match. That is the kind of person you need. You need people who are real supporters of this great organization. Not one foot inside and one foot outside. And then, of course, as the earlier speakers point out to you, as if they needed to, this political party is required to win elections, local and general and THA, to be able to manage this country's affairs. Because no other political organization has demonstrated the longevity or the willingness or the competence or the ability to run our affairs. And that's why Trinidad and Tobago's future is tied up with the PNM's behavior. Not just winning elections. When we are in the opposition, we have to behave well in the opposition too. And we demonstrated that. So these people who are running for office on this occasion, why I ask you to support me in identifying them, because I know them and I know the party more than you. I have been around. I have been in the party since 1974. I've served 2 terms in the opposition. I've served many terms in the cabinet, and I've run this party as leader since 2010. And now, if I look at what is available, give me a little credit for being able to identify those who are best suited to lead us at this point in time. So, what will happen if I choose all of them from Diego Martin West? Because we have the talent there, you know. But then Sangre Grande will say, what's going on here? And what will happen if I go to the Women's League and choose only women? And then the men will say, discrimination, because the talent is there. And what will happen if I go by Mr. Padma and choose only Padma and his friends and colleagues of his age? And you will say, what happened to the young people? And what if I allow Laurel and Ndale to run the show? You say, what is this? But what I've done, I've tapped into every single area of in the party to ensure that the party represents the entire country from Point 14 to Sangre Grande, from Carnash to Charlottesville. And we've got our women in, we've got our experienced persons in, we've got our youth in, and we got Imbert in. So this team that I'm asking you to support, it represents the country, because that is the PNM. We are the only national political party in Trinidad and Tobago. And when you look at our executive or our parliamentary collection or general election candidates, you must see that national representation. And I dare say this slate is the most balanced slate. And every single one of them can come to this podium and impress you as to why they're qualified to hold office in the national executive. You see, there are some people who have a problem when we of the PNM say, PNM till we're dead. My mother used to say that, My mother used to say that. And she died at PNM. But she will give you reasons why. And she had 2 reasons. One, without a PNM policy in public housing, she would have never lived in a house like she died in. 2, without the PNM's education policy. Her only son would have never gone to high school, and she died on that. And then, of course, to be able to be successful in the political arena of this turbulent Trinidad and Tobago, you have to have teamwork at the level of the party. Without teamwork, you're gone. And if you look at the history of those who have failed, the parties we have defeated, invariably, it is because they didn't have the kind of teamwork that we have demonstrated since 1956. I want to talk a little story tonight. Because you see an election, I don't want you all making any mistake by accident. And come and tell me after you didn't know you voted Trump, right? So I want you all to understand what is happening. You see the PNM, Dr. Williams he drove the intellectual bringing into being, giving birth to this party. He led us from the podium. He led the country with his intellect and his understanding of our people in these islands. But you see the politics on the street, on the ground? Any political party that has a constitution like ours, with the strength of that constitution, where you do not have a synergy between the political leader and the chairman, you're doomed to failure. Go back and look at our history. Dr. Williams and Francis Privat. Go back and look. Francis Privat worked closely with George Chambers. When Mr. Manning took over at the end of Privat's tenure, and Dr. William would have gone a little while earlier, you had Mr. Manning working very closely with Dr. Babulal and Dr. Steve. And I have had the opportunity, coming out of the opposition, to have worked with Franklin Khan, and we worked very closely, a tradition of the People's National Movement. Party members, don't take that for granted. That is the glue that holds our organization together. Now, if you want to experiment, learn your history first. Basdeo Panday was Prime Minister. The UNC was in government with a nice majority. They go and try to play PNM and had election for the leadership. And Ramesh Miraj won as deputy political leader. Remember that story? And then Basdeo Panday say, I am not working with he at all. I put up Carlos John, all of vote for Basdeo Panday, election or no election, and not working with he. Now he could have said that out of pique. But what that indicated to the party and to us in the opposition is that there was a serious problem in the UNC. And if Panday keep going down that road, he cut in track for Guti to run and did this PNM Guti run. Because the minute that started, it was the beginning of the end of the UNC as an organized fighting force in that period. You go and give me Mustafa Hamid as chairman of the party and walk that same road. Because you see, as I looked at those who have offered themselves, many of them are offering themselves for the first time. It's a good thing because one man, one vote allows you, the members, to take that responsibility. They can't elect themselves, They have one vote, but they could offer themselves. And if you look at those who are outside of the slate that I'm endorsing, many of them are first-timers, even first time in holding office in the party. The first time Patrick Manning ran for office in the PNM, he lost. You all know that? You're all too young to know that. But I mean, it's a process. You take part in the process, and it's educational, it's elevating. But there are some people who believe that we are crazy to take a man who has a career of being hateful and in opposition to everything that we're doing now, who never hold office anywhere of any consequence in the party, and make him chairman of the party. Mustafa's claim to fame is committing treason in the PNM. When you going out there trying to mobilize party MPs to overthrow the leader in the parliament, that is close to treason. And if I was the kind of person who was affected and upset by that, you would have heard about this long time, but I am not, I am focused on what I had to do. So now there's a campaign and we're coming to the end of the campaign. It's a good time to look back at what the problem is. Those who are now absolutely sure that they could run the party better than me and my team. Let's compare the records. Let's compare the records. They're saying that the PNM was in great shape. Everything was fine. And I am now the problem in the PNM. The leadership is the problem. And if they provide new leadership, that they'll fix that problem. But let me tell you the problem that they're going to fix. Because you see, I didn't just get up one morning and become leader of the PNM. Let me walk you back to where it came from so we could compare notes and see where we really going or where we came from. I was not always PNM leader. I became leader of this party by accident because we had won a term of election in 2007. We should have been in election until 2012. I got up one morning, Hamid and them called election in 2010. We lost it. And I went to Balize House the day after we lost the election. And at General Council, the party was told the president is waiting for a leader of the opposition to continue the parliamentary process. The General Council, remember there was no election, The General Council looked at the MPs in the lower house because that is where the opposition leader comes from. The General Council told the members of parliament who were elected that they should appoint me, support me as opposition leader. Because that is a business that is outside of the party, outside of the parliament. Members of parliament have to write the president and tell them who they support. So the General Council gave members of parliament an instruction. Not all of them were very happy about that because they had their horse in the race that we lost before. And I was nobody's horse and I was nobody's jackass. So therefore, I had to stand up and wait until they come to their mind. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, the members of parliament wrote the president and told him, because they have to do it in writing, they wrote the president and told him that they're supporting me, and thus I was appointed opposition leader. Once I accepted that position, I knew I had taken on a very serious responsibility. And I could not spend any time with the likes of Hamid and others because they had a different agenda. Their agenda was to deal with me. My agenda was to deal with the country's problems and the government of the day. But I had to deal with Balize House too. This perfect period and this perfect organization that I am now not carrying on. You know what my portion was? One of the first meetings I had was in a bank. Because a banker called me and told me, hey, your party owes this bank $4 million. And if it's not paid, we will have to, the only asset the party had was Balize House. So my first job as leader of the PNM was to save Balize House. The second thing, I think was only that, PTSC sending a bill for 800,000. TTT had a, or whatever it's called, CNMG or what it's called, they had another bill for hundreds of thousands. And we have staff to pay in Balize House. That was my starting point as opposition leader. I can tell you today, now that there is a campaign on the basis of the performance of the leader, Balize House is not only safe and secure, but we are building a brand new Balize House. I can tell you again, I've mobilized this party with all the resources available to us, and we've liquidated our debts. I can also tell you my portion at that time. We had an election to face. We had by-elections. We had THA election. We had general election. I can report to you today that during that period of my stewardship with those elections come and gone, we actually won every seat in a THA election. And today we continue. We continue. As a matter of fact, the seat of Providence Moriah, Miss Noel Moriah, was never won by the PNM. First time it was won under my leadership of the People's National Movement. That's my hometown. We fought and won the by-elections and built the steps to the general election. And we fought and won a general election that many of them didn't think we would win. And the hard part about that, the very PNM people who didn't think we could win the election, they are the ones now coming and being critical of the success that we have had. They don't know what success is. They know what hate is. They know what undermining is. They know what ambition is, but they don't know what success is. They don't know what success is. But during that period of dealing with those difficulties, I also focused on advancing this party. And that is why you're all here tonight. Because normally, you wouldn't have been here at this time. Because the political leader under the party's then constitution had a 5-year term. And that 5th year usually coincided with the election year. And even if party members were dissatisfied with the leader, or the leadership, or the leading, it coming up for review at the time of a general election, whether you like it or not, it was never a good time to make any change in the leadership. So what did I do? I encourage you, after a year of consultation, to revisit the Constitution and make changes to allow party members to have the opportunity to decide who should take the party into the next general election and give you ample time so to do. First thing we did, I reduced my own term from 5 years to 4 years, meaning that in 2014, rather than wait until 2015 in the election year to make the change, I resigned my position as political leader, and with the change of 4 years meant that I had to offer myself again with a clean tabletop, tabula rasa, and gave you the opportunity to select somebody to take us into the election of 2015. And you did so, and I was challenged. It wasn't like now, where I don't have a challenger. I had the A team then. I had the opposition A team challenging me then. And the challenge was very real, and we had a very serious election then. And with your support, I was elected handsomely as political leader of the People's National Movement. And of course, now that that has happened, it comes around again. We are here now in 2018, where you can now make a change. You had the option up until a few days ago to change the leadership, because the new arrangements in the Constitution, if you wanted to put up a candidate to remove the current leader because you are dissatisfied, this was your time, and you had ample time to do it now, and the general election is due in 2020, so you had the change to be made, and you could build your new leader and so on. That is what the party operates under now. And I must say, it was a touch of wisdom and understanding. I could say that I was the best candidate, but I couldn't have been the only one. But as it turned out, on the day when nomination closed, the party took the position that it was quite satisfied with my stewardship, and therefore I am returned elected as your leader. And you having done that, I think it is my duty to say to you that what I am asking you to do here now is to put in place not just the leader for the fight ahead, but the leader with a team, your election campaign team going forward, because you know, we had a tradition of not having elections for the executive during election years, you know. And I could have been the luckiest political leader, because the next 3 years coming up is election after election after election. So I could have sat there and just be elected by virtue of those provisions of the Constitution. But now, this year, there's no election. It's working out fine. You are free to make the changes. We have a local election in 2019. So whoever you elect now, who you are electing or what you are electing is the campaign executive for 2019. And then we move straight into general election for 2020. So your campaign team should have a dry run for the local, and regardless of the results there, you get ready for the 2020. And then come 2021, we go to Tobago for the THA election. No rest for the executive from now until 2022. That's what you're being asked to do. So you don't make any mistake and elect any OJT, and OJTs might have skills, you know. Don't just elect ambition which has no stuff stirred or otherwise. And I could tell you, 2014 was the A-team opposition. 2018 now is a B team or a C team because they have nothing to recommend them, you know. Any team led by Mustafa Hamid can't be a serious team. You don't tell me that you absent yourself from the party for 8 years. And Mr. Imbert said the last time he saw him was in his office. Well, the last time I saw him was in my office, where he came to visit me. Fuming with the hatred he had from 2009, Mr. Imbert made reference to his performance in the parliament. And it's there for all of you to read. However, when he came to see me in 2010, I had just made the presentation for the first budget response from the opposition after we crashed the party in 2010. So I, as opposition leader, had to respond to the government first budget response. And his conduct was so disgraceful on that occasion in my office that as he left my door, I said to him quietly, maybe he didn't hear, that you will never enter my office again. So having tried to undermine us on the outside and failed, the election provides an opportunity to come and undermine us from the inside, because Mustafa Hamid spent the last 5 years or more telling voters, PNM members in the mosque all over this country not to vote for the PNM. And I have a duty to let you know that so you don't elect him as chairman of the People's National Movement. Any person who take the mission to go out there and tell voters don't vote for the PNM, you are disqualified to be elected on the executive of the People's National Movement. You have to believe in this party. You have to believe in this party. And you have to be trustworthy. And if that is the person you want to put as chairman of this party at this time, then you could kiss the next 2 elections bye-bye. Because you put that, you're on the outside. Right? I mean, I wouldn't want to call them termites, but termites make their own air-conditioned track to travel, but they want to get on the inside. So after all that behavior, right? While we there fighting in the opposition, while I am there fighting to save Balize House, while I am there fighting to pay the bills, fighting to pay the staff, he walk around with a letter to undermine me. And he has not changed because they somehow believe that that is what it's all about. That is not what it's all about. You have to have a commitment to something. You have to have a value system. And if you're part of an organization like a political party, this undermining is not an attribute. Here it is. I'm having sleepless nights trying to figure out how to get from opposition to government. He can't point to a single thing he has done in that period from 2010 to now that contributed to a PNM victory in a constituency, in a local government seat, in a general election. He can't point to a single thing. But you are being told tonight by Mr. Imbert, he walking around with a letter to my colleagues who I am depending on in the parliament to go behind my back to tell the president to go against the general council instructions and remove Rowley as leader and put who? Well, it couldn't be him because he wasn't in the parliament. He was hoping that he got connivance from some other elected person. And when you think you have an opposition working for you to go to government, Hamid would have undermined or capsized the whole thing. And then, of course, that would make a lot of nice news. But the bottom line is, the people of Trinidad and Tobago would have been deprived of a PNM government, and you ask yourself, who would have been taking the country's burden now? Who? Who? This is no joke. This is serious business. This is serious business. And if you want to run for office, you must be able to come in front of this podium like Ndale can do and come out to the arm long as to his service and location. Like Laurel Lizama can do. She can tell you she has spoken on more public platform in PNM elections than virtually any of us in this room because she has been PNM all her adult life. And of course, let me tell you all something. Let me tell you all something tonight. Our party is built on the foundation of interracial solidarity. And one of the strengths of this country is that we all accept that we are one people regardless of race, color, creed, or class. And in the face of that fundamental principle, don't be surprised from time to time that persons come to you and say that they are PNM, but him but is a white man, you don't want him. Or this one is a this, you don't want him. Anytime they come with that, you go to the party's constitution that we are one race, color, creed, or class. Does not matter. It is your character and your commitment to country and your patriotism that matters, that makes you a member of the PNM. You know, that foolishness. And they believe they could do it in secret. And obtain their ambition, carry out their agenda, because nobody would be bold enough to talk about it. But during the period, while I was saving Balizi House, putting a team together, fighting the government to get the PNM into office, I was the subject of their discourse. And the subject of that discourse was my unfortunate color, according to them. But I tell them, see me? I am a proud black man. And any of them who figure that is a handicap, think twice. You've handed me an advantage. You've handed me an advantage. And that was the conduct, you know. That was the conduct. And I know them one by one. If I may quote a friend of mine in Tobago, from when I ran for election in Tobago in 1981, there's this village called Buku in Tobago that's a PNM stronghold. And 12 persons didn't vote for the PNM in that election. And when I got to the evening, the night after the result, there was a very upset old man, Mr. Johnson. He said, 12 of them vote against you here, you know. And I know every one of them personally, you know. And that is where I am now. I know all of them personally. You, the proud people of Sangre Grande. You, the proud people of Sangre Grande, the constituency of Elmina Clark Allen. I had the very unpleasant task of putting my signature as political leader of the PNM to a party member in this constituency, saying to him and his cohorts, if you collect another dollar for the PNM, while not being authorized so to do, I'm going to put you in the hands of the police. Because everybody know that half of them after that collecting money in the name of the PNM and you go and give them office, now you put them in the bank, and after that, you could imagine receiving a letter from the political leader of the party telling you, keep your hands off PNM money. But you want to run for office? And I will know that and allow that to happen? No way. No way. No way. And I would allow you to, I would allow you to put the Trojan horse as chairman of this party, coming to fix what? Well, if it ain't broke, it ain't need no fixing, it needs support. It needs you to go from strength to strength, and you don't need those who had no time to put us where we are. And that is why tonight I am particularly proud to call up the following persons to represent us in the next election, to elect the next executive of the PNM to face the hills we have to climb and the valleys to cross in the years ahead. And I want to call up first and foremost, Party Chairman 2018, the long-standing, the dependable Colum Imbert. And for all those who don't know our country's history and our party's history, I want to call up the Venerable Overland Padmore, the walking encyclopedia, who will train our young people and let us know where we came from and where we can go. Overland Padmore for Education Officer. I would like to call up the person who probably will be the hardest working person in the party, because that is the person who the political leader and the chairman work through to keep our party as the functioning organization. For General Secretary, the experienced, the committed, the hard-working, for General Secretary, Foster Cummins. And when, you know, every constituency, always to give life to the politics of the community, you have a bacchanalist in the park somewhere. You have a confusion maker. You have an over-ambitious person. Every constituency has that, and then sometimes it blows over into bacchanal. And then either the chairman or the political leader has to send somebody from Balize House to come and tell all you behave all yourself. Ally? Well, the man who does that is the election officer, and that person is Indar Parasram. And when you're getting ready to fight the elections, to choose your candidates, to make sure you're complying with all our requirements in the party, and the political leader needs to know how things are on the ground out there, the person who speaks to him is the elections officer, and Indar Parasram. He has fought more elections, managed more candidates, chaired more constituencies than virtually anybody in this party. Indar Parasram for election officer. And then, of course, you have another one who is supposed to be out there, collecting the information, bringing it to you, making sure that you are always read and ready. And of course, experience is most important. And this must be the most experienced man, because he has held office across the party except Lady Vice Chairman. And this is Abdon Mason for Field Officer. Abdon Mason. Now, there's a young man who is brave. He's been into the jaws of the lion without fear for the PNM. He's been into Chaguanas West and take on Kamala and Jack Warner when nobody else will. He cut his teeth in Chaguanas West, and then he went to Caroni Central and he fought. And he almost won that seat. But it's not about winning seats. It's about being PNM, PNM, PNM. Avinash Singh for our social media officer. And of course, they say youth is wasted on the young. But we'll take a chance and waste a bit of our youth on Ndale Young, because he represents the best of our party's young people. Hard-working, a member of the General Council, a temporary senator, a true PNM stalwart. And he is here to work. He is here to work representing our youth, for Youth Officer Ndale Young. And then we have, what can I say about Irene? I'm only sorry that we didn't put a restriction in the party's constitution that you have to put up a deposit to be able to be a candidate, because we would have made some money, I'm sure, and if all the rest didn't win some money first in this election, Irene would have made them lose their deposit. Operations Officer. And of course, when he's not talking to the police, when he is not trying to get the police to do their job properly, he is running for Vice Chairman of the People's National Movement. The man from Faizabad to San Fernando, from San Fernando to Diego Martin, from Diego Martin to St. Joseph. He's been everywhere for Vice Chairman of the People's National Movement, Robert Lehon. And of course, the face, the voice, and the signature of the PNM in election, out of election. Good day news, bad day news. You want to put the best face and the best voice and the best experience forward to speak for us at all times. Laurel Lezama for PRO. And let me say something here, right? Laurel joined this late because I thought she was being too much of a mommy and didn't have the time. And then she told, who told you that? That was last time. So she's now available. By that time, Fitzgerald Hines had offered himself to run. And because I did not want the executive, if we could avoid it, to be dominated by the parliament and the cabinet, I asked Mr. Hines to step aside, and he couldn't have stepped aside for a better person. That is how the PNM functions. That's how we function. Teamwork. We do the best for the team, and the team is Team Trinidad and Tobago, led by the People's National Movement. That is what we are. Now, we have here, come Jocelyn, come. Because some people in Sangre Grande may not have seen you for a long time. Elected unopposed, or welfare officer, the one and only Jocelyn Bodden. She takes care of all our commitments to our party members, and on occasion, the welfare officer makes sure that we are the caring party that we say we are. Welfare officer, I don't know that there's any other political party with a lineup like this. And of course, the lady vice chairman, head of the Women's League, head of the Women's League. Because with the Women's League, you've won. That's why the PNM wins. Without the Women's League, there's no PNM. So tonight, the head of the Women's League is endorsing this slate and this team. Because you see, teamwork. Oh yes, we have here the lady in the audience. Come and join us. The lady who elected unopposed. She is the labor leader, guiding us along the path of our compliance with those who would shut down the country, march around the country, all of that. So those are her friends, right? But it's all right. And of course, Howard Chinley, coming out of the Youth League, into the cabinet, he is so much PNM that he didn't take much persuasion to come and fill the slot of treasurer. He isn't here tonight. And of course, I want to pay particular tribute to the current Assistant General Secretary, Daniel Duki, who has been running the affairs at Balize House without fuss, efficiently. You have not had a complaint about the functioning of Balize House as Daniel Duki moves smoothly into General Secretary position when Ashton Ford resigned. That is how the PNM functions. And I want to take a moment here to thank Mr. Franklin Khan for his service as chairman of the party. He's had one or two health challenges, but that didn't hold him back. He was always available to do his job as chairman of the party. And he was very cooperative and hardworking with the executive, not just with me, the political leader. Because my style of management is to give people responsibility, give them distance to do it, and hold them accountable for their area of responsibility. And Chairman Franklin Khan has worked very well with this team that we have in office now. And as he's taking a leave of that office, we want to give him a round of applause for having been an outstanding chairman. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our party's election coming to a close. You are now the decider, because of the one man, one vote. This is just my selection of the officers who I believe will make a very good team. And I believe that it is teamwork that will take us forward. But this can't happen without you coming out on Sunday, the 30th of September, bringing out party members, because only party members are allowed to vote in this PNM election. But show your responsibility in accepting the role that you play at the level of the party group, at the level of the constituency. Come out and stand with this executive by giving them your vote. So at the night of the 30th of September, we will know we have in place at the leadership of the PNM an executive that has the full endorsement and support of the vast majority of members who choose to cast their vote on that day. And I'm sure Sangre Grande understands what I've told you tonight. Understand the seriousness of this. It's not a practice match. It's not an OJT application form. It is about running Trinidad and Tobago. And these people have what it takes for this term. Some of them have come across from the last term, and you need that continuity. But we've infused new blood because there's a changing of the guard. Mr. Padmore may do 2 or 3 terms. Justin may do another term. Mr. Imbert may do about 3 or 4 more terms. I may do 1 more term. But the bottom line is, what you see here is a party that is not about the next election. We are about the future of Trinidad and Tobago, and we look beyond the election. I distinctly recall when I was in the position of Ndale Young. In 1980, I stepped on a podium for the first time as a PNM spokesperson. And on that night in Belgarden, I had as my leader over on Padmore, 1980, 38 years ago. And in that same election, the youth of the PNM, we were sent to Bethel. Foster spoke about a lady from Bethel. Bethel giving us trouble since then. Since then. We used to have to go in there in the daytime. You couldn't go in the night. So hostile were they. And of course, they sent the young people to face that. And the young people in that campaign was Patrick Manning, Keith Rowley, and Ian Anthony. That's our party. So you understand that we are always ready and available to serve the public, even when we have to contrive. And the party goes from strength to strength. We have succession planning in this team. We have people who have demonstrated a willingness to take advice, because I'll tell you something else too. Foster Cummins came up sometime earlier and said he was interested in running for General Secretary. Ashton Ford was available. And Foster will tell you, as leader, I told him, Foster, I cannot support you as General Secretary if Ashton Ford is available. And what did he do? He said, okay, he went to another office. He ran for elections officer, and he did a very good job holding office as election officer. Ashton Ford has resigned the position, and Foster came and he said, I am running for the position of General Secretary. And I had no difficulty in saying to him, you have my fullest support. And tonight, I support Foster Cummins for General Secretary. That is how it is done. That is how it is going to be done in the PNM if we are to cross the rapids and swim in the swift currents and climb the mountains we have to climb. And those who don't understand that still don't understand why this is the PNM 63 years and going strong. That's why we lasted for 63 years, and that's why we defeated 63 political parties. You members, the one man, one vote that you supported in the change of the Constitution, you now have that responsibility to come out and cast that vote. There's no delegate between you and them. It is you voting for or against them. Because to not vote for this team, you are voting against the team. And if you are voting against the team, I presume that you're voting for something better. And if you know that there's something better, then it is your right to choose it. But if it's an experiment, because somebody has scores to settle, or somebody cup of hatred overflowing, or somebody knows some magic thing that you don't know. It's not magic, it's hard work, and it's our constitution. So Sangre Grande tonight, I'm so glad to see so many of you out here. And I hope you remember where your other party members are, and you encourage them to come out to vote, because we are voting for the executive that will take us into 3 elections. Not 1, not 2, but 3 elections. 2019, 2020, and 2021. So the first time we'll make that clarion call is now. And the first time we'll celebrate you making the right decision is on Sunday night, next Sunday, 30th September, when you would have elected this team, and you would say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. Thank you all very much.